So I'm Rory Joscelyne. I directed and wrote Human Cargo, which was the third of the 5 films. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm Bradley. I directed, wrote and produced the second film, A Walk in Shadow.
I'm Lewis Taylor, and I am the writer and director of The Eliminator.
I'm going to start with you, Lewis, because obviously we've got a little bit of history with you here. How do you and Daniel decide who's going to sit in the hot seat? Because for those that don't know, Daniel and Lewis, they like some sort of double act. And I'm just trying to find out whether it's like you flip a coin or what.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We flip a coin. Me and Dan have several projects, usually on the go at once, and then I think it's whatever one ends up getting green lit and goes ahead. It's just how it works out, really. It could easily be either way, but yeah, it depends, because the film industry being the film industry, you never know which thing's going to happen and which thing's going to be put on the back burner, and I think it just comes down to what gets the green light. So this time it was me, but next time it could easily be Dan, you know. So yeah, it just depends on what happens. Yeah.
What I'll do is, if we can start with you, Rory, and make our way up the line. If you'd like to tell me how, or tell the audience, should I say, how you how the project came to be.
So Human Cargo started off 10 years ago now, actually, as I wrote it as a novel. I must have finished it, but I don't remember doing so. But I lost it. The reason I know that I must have finished the whole thing is after filming the short, because I found the beginning part of the story about midway last year, decided to make a short out of it. But I found recently, I've just started writing the feature version of it, because I found basically a storyboard for a trailer for the novel, which had the rest of the story. So I started to adapt it based on what was left. So, and it had chapter numbers. So I must have written the whole thing, I just don't remember it. Which isn't a good start, but yeah, so I remember a lot more now that I've got the, obviously, pictures and stuff like that to tell me where the story was meant to go. As for doing it now, it's based on, obviously, it's quite a dark subject matter. It's specifically about the legal and moral questioning of removing the right for women to choose what to do with their own bodies. Not exactly light subject matter. And it sort of came about in the last year for me because I've known a few people that have been through different things, including miscarriages and that. I lost a child last year to a miscarriage, so it very much it became quite current for me, and the anger my partner felt, and you know, the questions that come up from it, and it felt like there wasn't a huge amount of discussion on the matter in terms of film, and I just felt like it was something I wanted to, having already written it 10 years prior with no knowledge of that emotional side, I decided to come back to it and readapt it to really bring that back to the fore and actually make it a bit more of a statement.
On to yourself.
Well, I forgot the question.
How did you and the project meet?
The project was a long time in the making, and like Rory, it was probably certainly the skeleton of it, even more than the skeleton of it, written about 10 years or so back. I guess it came about through the roller coaster of life, through losing people, through getting to that point in life. I guess most of us get there at some point when we question what's it all about. So I took on this really light subject, what's the meaning of life? And tried to fathom it, and tried to fathom why is death there, what's it all about? And to me, obviously I don't give a definitive answer, but at this point in life, it's got to the point where one has to appreciate every day. That makes me sound old, doesn't it? It's terrible. You have to appreciate every day for what it is, everybody around you for who they are, and rejoice in that fact, and stop focusing on the negatives of losing people and seeing death and going, but this is amazing, the universe is incredible. You know, the fact that we exist is amazing, and whether you have beliefs in a creator or not, it doesn't matter. It's still amazing. Let's rejoice in that and be thankful for every single day.
Yourself?
I've always been a fan of, you know, like action films like The Expendables, and I like the Taken movies, and especially the Bourne movies as well. Obviously we didn't have the budget to do a film like that, unfortunately, as much as we'd love to do it. But I wanted to come up with a film in that genre that could be done virtually on no budget, because we didn't have a budget at all. So I thought, why not play on the theme of suspense, and then have the kind of resolve at the end, and kind of just build it up for the audience. So yeah, and just have a character the character I play, Carter, he's just very cold, and he's just got one job to do. You know, he's just kind of this he's just been sent to do this job, and he's not really questioning why. He's just kind of cold-blooded and cold-hearted. So yeah, it's just something that we wanted to make, like an action film, but just kind of on a small scale, you know. And yeah, like, it was incredibly enjoyable to make. Like, I loved every second of it.
How long did it take to shoot? And the question all the way down the line again, starting with yourself.
We shot it in one day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one day. We started early in the morning and then finished early evening. It was very quick. Yeah, I had a good director of photography called Dan Hugo, and the second we started working together, we just kind of clicked, and he kind of, you know, he knew the vision that I had, and then it just kind of come together, and then we just kind of worked solidly throughout the day. And the fight scene took the longest, because we had to keep redoing it, because sometimes you didn't get the right angle, the right take, or, you know, you have to shoot it from so many, you know, various angles, so that took the longest part. But yeah.
Also, it's quite important to make sure you get an extra kick in on Daniel, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, that was all real contact. We was really beating each other up. It was my chance to, you know. Yeah. So it was yeah, 1 day shoot.
As was a 3-day shoot. I mean, it's 22.5 minutes. So, and obviously mostly dialogue driven, but quite a bit of B-roll in there. So I guess with the B-roll as well, that's all the extra shots, the cutaways, 3.5 days probably in total.
Human Cargo was a 3-day shoot. Yeah, they were quite long days, but because we had to cram quite a lot in. But yeah, 3-day shoot as well, similar to Walking Shadow. There was only really 3 main cast. The extras were brought on by Alice Ryan, who not only played Diana, but she also did a role as my producer for the film. Yeah, with Alice's character, I did several auditions to find, because it was the role that I was the most sort of flexible on. The other 2, I had kind of a more clear-cut idea in mind of sort of the person that I wanted. And with Alice, we sort of scoured and found a few people that we knew. I watched their show reels and picked the people that I thought could perform the roles the way I wanted them. And yeah, they blew it out of the water. So yeah, I didn't have any issues with that.
Yeah, good old Alice. Alice was an integral player, obviously, co-director, co-producer.
We sort of share a link there.
We share Alice, yeah. She's so busy she can't even be here today. She's amazing. As an actor of quite some years, she knew so many people that she got in touch with them, and we pretty much just sent a couple of pages of dialogue to quite a few people. I say quite a few. It wasn't double figures, but maybe 6 or 7 or 8 people. I can't remember. And they read just into their phone or camera, just sent it to us, and it kind of worked like that. It was as simple as that, and yeah, they were fantastic, the people we found. So it wasn't a difficult thing. Then we had a reading, it all went really well, and we said, yeah, let's go for it.
We've got quite.
Did you name him Samuel after the Samuel, Angel of Death?
I'm so sorry, could you just...
You named him Samuel.
Yes, Samuel.
Was there a reason?
There is a reason. It's a religious reason.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Absolutely, yeah. So Samuel was a name given in the Jewish, for the angel of death, whatever you want to refer to death as. Yeah. So well done, well spotted on that. And I'm sure you spotted as well, and it was pretty obvious, I guess, as the film went on, that Sam and Samuel were one and the same, and she could take on any appearance that she wanted to, or he wanted to.
Any other questions? Oh, yep, gentleman at the back.
For the first two guys, not Lewis, the other two, do you use professional actors?
So with we I hired all the three main cast of mine were professional actors. Alice obviously, as we've said, has done an awful lot of work. They've probably been
Television series, you know?
so they wouldn't have been leads in any TV series you would have seen. They've been on adverts and things like that before, but they've not been. You wouldn't say like they played Doctor Who way back when, but they would have had small minor roles on TV. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same for me, and they were all incredibly gracious, and I did pay them all, but as little as, I'd say as little as possible. That was not my intention, but I had to come within the budget, and they were all incredibly gracious and did it for a very small amount, and I just paid their fares, a small daily fee, and then fed them, obviously.
Yeah, same thing. The only person who got so the only difference with all of my cast, they all got paid the same. The only difference was the guy who played Greg in it. He lives in London, and we filmed in Southend. So we filmed several of the scenes in Southend. So I had to hire a hotel for him. So that was obviously within the budget as well. We had a very small budget. It was only £2,000 for human cargo, but yeah. So all of that had to fall within the budget. With us, we hired professional actors because we had a certain thing in mind that we felt we wanted to, and we had friends in the industry. As I say, we shared Alice. We wanted to give them a shot at being in pieces that we'd written, and we were great. We were happy to have them, assist us and actually do that for us. But obviously, yeah, in lieu of a budget, we would have probably used friends as well.
Just to add to that, I sold my car, to make that film. So I believe if you want to make something, you can make it happen. I've also made zero budget films, but I invested in that one and got the actors as best I could, got the best cinematographer I could by making it happen, by selling a car. So
it's interesting you were saying about you having to sell your car. Sorry to ask this, Rory, but how did you get your funding to make the film?
So I actually, my parents loaned me the money, which is why they got a credit right at the end of, special thanks for that. I paid it back, so it was just a case of they gave me the lump sum up front. I had to pay it back, but that came out of their retirement fund essentially. So that I had to pay it back because otherwise I've screwed them over. So it's not a case
maybe
of
disowned.
Yeah. So it's yeah. You look at it, it wasn't free money, and I still had to earn it from work in order to, it was. The only reason they gave it to me in advance was so that I could do the film in the time frame that I needed it, not because of a lack of effort or energy.
I have to say, although your project was quite serious, I did laugh a little bit when the drone delivered the package.
The drone is quite funny.
I think that was really good, and probably at the time that you put that all together, everyone was going on about the Amazon drones.
Well, the noise that you hear in the film isn't superimposed. That's the actual noise of the drone. It was a noisy thing. We had people all the way down the street looking at us, and we had smoke as well because I had a haze machine. So they just saw this door with this really noisy drone, which also was slightly broken. So the shots that we used were the best shots. It was actually moving around like that quite a lot. It couldn't keep it stable, so we had this mental drone going like that with smoke billowing out the door. So yeah, it looked, as you say, like the filming of that was hilarious.
Let's start with Lewis because he's been a little bit quiet for a few minutes. Talk to us about some of your filming locations.
It was all shot in Cambridge, St Ives. So yeah, we moved, and the car park scene was very close to the house we filmed at, and the house was actually Dan's house. So Dan's house is on the big screen. But yeah, no, we didn't have any problems in terms of, and I think the fact that it was, that was another thing as well, because we didn't have a budget. We couldn't hire out a house, and so Dan's house is costing us no money. So yeah, it was perfect for the film, really.
Yeah, locations were, we were very lucky to find a school with a very nice theatre in it, an acting and theatre school. and everything else was shot around the Lee sort of South End area, all those outtake, the B-roll, the cutaways. Yeah, that's a fun job, but when you're at our stage, I guess, you do everything. You write, produce, direct, you scout the locations, you make the tea on set when everyone's having a 5 or 10 minute break. So yeah, I drifted off there, but yeah, all the locations were
good. It's a good valid point. We've been talking to a lot of people over the last few days about how important it is to wear every single hat at some point when
Absolutely.
you're making films at this level.
Yeah, you have to, and I think the key thing, if there's any other would-be filmmakers out there, I'm sure there's many, and I know there's filmmakers out there, but any would-be filmmakers, is to never lose sight of your dream. Never get down when someone says it to you negatively that you're a dreamer. Just say thank you very much. I'm proud of that, because I've had that said many times, and you can't lose sight of it. And it's easy not to do something. It's very easy to say, I can't find the money for that, how am I going to do that? And a few years go past and suddenly you hit whatever, 35, 40, 45, and I had a classic Mini, as I referred to. I had a classic Mini, and I said to myself, do I want that classic Mini in 10 years' time, or do I want to be here watching that film now? I loved my Mini, but I love that more. I'm pleased I've done that.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Locations.
Locations. So so with locations, we actually use a lot of the same locations. So Joanna's house at the very end was all in my place. Actually, Diana's bedsit was one of the other rooms in my flat, was the room we didn't use as Joanna's house. So all of that was sort of in the same location. We went to an estate to film the beginning scene down the corridor and everything else. Bit of a scary one, that, because we were going to use the place, we were going to use the flat there for Diana's flat. I won't say where it is, but basically we walked into the flat, looked at the wall, and it was, I'm not kidding, wall-to-wall guns. And we thought, that's probably not going to work. So they were real, they weren't BB, yeah, so we're like, maybe we won't film in there. But this, so that took us by surprise when we did the scouting locations. We still used the front bit. The person who owned it was really gracious, really nice. I had no issues with him. It was just a case of, of course, you don't make issues with people when they've got guns. But there was a lot of guns on that wall. So we thought, you know what, this is going to be too hard to dress. We'll move that location into my house because there's a room we haven't used there. As for the hospital was actually filmed inside of a mall. There was a rehearsal space inside a mall. We couldn't afford an actual hospital location. We found some that you can hire professionally. They're $5,000 a day. So that was completely off the list. We tried asking medical facilities if there was like a spare room we could film in for a morning or for a day. We didn't get any feedback, or they were basically unable to be done. So basically the hospital scene was built as on the cheap as I possibly could. Had to buy all the medical equipment that stayed in my lounge, horrible bits of snippy things, and my girlfriend didn't like that. And yeah, and then we decided to make it really low tech. So we used the old CRT TVs, things like that I had around the house, just to, because I collect old tech, so I thought actually we'll use that, make it so it's a rundown low tech hospital rather than a high tech sci-fi hospital. So that was the angle we went on for those.
I just want to add to that again, it's the multiple hat sort of scenario. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Palace Theatre at Southend. It's over 100 years old. It's beautiful inside, and I desperately wanted it. But like you just said, they wanted £1,200 a day. During their blackout in the summer, just keep trying, be persistent. You will find somewhere, and as writers, directors, you have something in your head of how you want it to look. It doesn't have to stay that way, because ultimately you can change it. You can change location. As long as the script's solid, the actors are solid, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I just want to add into that as well. I agree with what the guys are saying. I think when you're at this level and you're completely independent and you've got no money and things do change, like a scene that was outdoor can be put indoors, or indoors can be outdoors. You have to be very flexible with your ideas, and I think as long as you've got a good team around you that all want to achieve the same thing, then it's doable. Do you know what I mean? Contrary to what people may say, but all you need is just passionate people that want to do it, and it can happen.
Okay, we've got about 3 minutes on the clock, so very last question for all of you. What next?
Me and Dan at the moment are shooting a film called Takedown Vendetta. Briefly, it's about a guy, I play a character called Trevor, who's like ex-army, and his girlfriend is brutally murdered. So Trevor decides to go on a bit of a vendetta and bring justice to some bad guys. So it's been a lot of fun, but it's in the same kind of vein as the Eliminator, but on a bigger scale. But we're currently shooting that, and we're hoping that'll be ready by the end of the year. So, and I've been writing like a maniac, different scripts, and it's just which one's gonna come to the forefront. So yeah.
Yeah, similar. Not actually shooting, or not even in pre-production, but got loads of scripts as a writer, lots of shorts. Probably whittled it down to 2. We'll shoot 1 this summer. Quite a few feature scripts, which I want to get onto and make, but that's big budget, and I'm not quite there. But if I can find anyone out there, or anybody knows anybody, obviously we're all looking for the same thing. But yeah, lots of stuff waiting to be done. Hopefully, going to shoot another short this summer.
At the moment, I've just put this into several festivals, such as this one. I'm writing the feature for it. It's based on, by adapting the original. It's a little darker than it used to be. And there's also other film scripts that I've got ready to go. I've got another one called Codex 7, which is about it's a very sort of different subject matter, but still a sci-fi. And I've also got like a space sci-fi trilogy that could be produced. But again, it's as before. It's a case of trying to locate budgets, trying to source funds, as it were. Scripts are near enough ready to go. It's just a case of getting the funding for them.
Well, I'm sure we all agree they formed part of an excellent short film showcase. If we can all give them a final round of applause.